The following program is a special presentation of the Big Ten Network, produced in association with the University of Wisconsin.
She ran out of the Northwoods and onto the campus of the University of Wisconsin-Madison, where she became one of the most decorated athletes in Badger history. We'll try to catch up with her next on Wisconsin Reflections. Her list of accomplishments is longer than a marathon in August, and what Suzy Hamilton did on that track is etched in record books at every level of competition, from high school to college to the Olympics. She ran well enough to make Forrest Gump proud. Then after circling the globe, this world-class athlete from Stevens Point jogged back to Madison to start a career and raise a family. And Suzy Hamilton is with us today. Suzy, how are you? Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. And you know what? I sprinted back to Wisconsin.
Oh, did you? You couldn't get back fast enough?
I couldn't wait to get back here.
That's good.
Yeah.
Did you come back from Malibu? You were living out in Malibu, is that?
Malibu, and then to the state of Oregon, and then back here.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So here's my first question. When did you realize that you were faster than the other kids? There must have been a moment where all of a sudden you went, whoa, I'm pretty good at this.
I love this question because this is my favorite time in my whole running career.
Mm-hmm.
It was in 5th grade, and we had an elementary track meet. Of all the schools in the area were at this track meet. And I remember coming across the finish line, and I have this vision so clear in my mind, looking up in the stands and seeing all my little peers, boys and girls, and kids that didn't even know me, chanting my name, and they were going, Suzy, Suzy, Suzy. And I remember crossing the finish line and going, oh my God, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. I had no clue that this is what I could do for a living.
Right, that you could make a career out of it.
Out of running. And then in college, when I was done with college, they said, what, you're going to pay me to run? You've got to be kidding me. So definitely a dream come true, but that moment in time to me is the most precious, the most special time of my entire running career. 9
NCAA championships, Big Ten Athlete of the Decade in the 90s, 3 Olympic team appearances, and the list is unbelievable of your accomplishments. But I want to talk to you about the price of that. Pain. I've covered distance runners. I've shot marathon runners. The mental discipline to overcome the pain that you do in the half or the mile or the metric mile, it's considerable. How do you manage that? Where do you get to the right place in your head, like Lance Armstrong, where you can handle that?
Well, for me, definitely the pain was something I thrived on. I definitely had a thrill, a rush.
Now, how does that go?
I don't understand myself. So
good,
I
I'm
think
glad.
I definitely was born with some chemical not quite right, because ever since I was a little child, training to me was normal. That was never not normal. To get out and motivate myself to get out the door every day, I had no problem doing that. Later on in life, I'm 39 now, I've kind of learned why I had that drive. And
How so?
Well, when I say something isn't quite right, I physically mean that.
Right. You mean your ability to obsess?
Yes, absolutely.
That's true of all people who are great at what they do, though.
Yeah, mine was really to an extreme, and it took me till later in life to realize I didn't want to live the rest of my life having to run every day to feel good. And I had to until 2 years ago when I had my baby. I realized I don't have to live like this anymore. But I honestly had to run every day to be at a certain level mentally to feel good. And
well, those endorphins are a buzz.
Yes, they are. They're huge.
The question is, was it ever unhealthy for you?
Yes, absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely. Yes, because
when did you realize that? And what made you realize that?
I realized it my freshman year in college. I was developing an eating disorder, and my eating disorder had nothing to do with food. It wasn't even though I wanted to be thinner, I thought, I look at pictures now of myself and I'm like, oh my God, I was so thin. And I actually thought I was big then. But it wasn't anything to do with trying to eat less or to be thin. It was all about this thing that I had in my head, this confidence. I felt like I was out of control in college. I didn't have any control.
When did you get control?
I got control for the first time when I stopped running. when I had my child.
Really?
Which was it took a long time to live a life being so out of control.
And what did you find out when you got control of your life about yourself?
I found out so much about myself. I found out that I can truly be happy in life, and I'm the happiest I've ever been in my entire life, and I'm not running.
Well, you're not running right now in Madison, and it's like 18 degrees and all ice and snow. You have to be thrilled with that.
Yes, I guess I just found out a lot about myself, and a lot to do just strictly with me and why my behaviors, why I did certain things. It just kind of made sense in my life.
How did your husband help you in this?
Well, my husband was a driving force in college when I met him, and he
baseball player. At the
yeah.
end, right.
When I met him, I had that same obsession that I had with running. I had that obsession with him. Everything that I loved.
Lucky for him.
Exactly. I obsessed over. I mean, after practice, I basically would cut out a practice short of my weightlifting, run home to shower, and run to his class and sit in his tape-recorded class with him to be with him. He actually got a B- in that class because of me.
Right, sure.
And I
can see why you were a distraction.
Well, yeah, and he was a straight A student, so that was a big deal to get a B-.
Well, I want to hear more about this. I also want to talk to you about Marion Jones and some of the athletes you competed with, and you know the side of track and field, international track and field at the level you competed at, some of the realities that you had to contend with. And also want to talk to you about becoming one of the first great female athletes at Wisconsin when women's sports were just emerging. So we'll talk more about that with Suzy Favor-Hamilton when we get back. We're in Madison on Wisconsin. Hello.
This production of Wisconsin Reflections is produced by University Communications at the University of Wisconsin-Madison.
Consider this. There's a public university that consistently ranks among the top in the number of Peace Corps volunteers and in the number of graduates serving as CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, whether they're leading corporations or changing the world. The next time you see people doing extraordinary things, they are probably Badgers. The University of Wisconsin-Madison. Forward thinking.
Really?
Yeah.
Suzy Favor-Hamilton with us today here in Madison, and that was a Nike spot. Controversial. They withdrew the spot. Tell me the story there.
Well, first of all, when you see the running shots of me up close, that was me, and then the other running shots, it's not me, and I can pick it out so clearly.
Bad stride, bad technique,
yeah, form's
bad
really
form.
bad. But that was the stunt double because it took 2 days, and I only had 4 hours to shoot the commercial.
Right.
So a lot of controversy. It seemed like every commercial I did in my career, I had some type of controversy.
Well, and then was it Sports Illustrated that did a nude study of the Olympic athletes, correct?
Yeah.
That
was actually, it was a husband-wife photo. It was awesome, a great experience, but my shot didn't air. They said my shot didn't air because somebody had leaked that I was going to be in it with my husband, and they don't want anybody to know beforehand. But I don't believe it was that. I believe it was more that my pages, they were going to sell advertising, and so they were going to get more money. And I was track and field, so I was an easy sport to kind of get rid of, and nobody's going to miss it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And how'd you feel? You're a girl from Stevens Point. How'd you feel about the whole photo shoot?
You mean the naked?
Right. Yeah.
The naked commercial or photo shoot?
The photo shoot.
I'm sorry, I don't understand.
Well, how did you feel about doing a naked photo shoot? I mean,
I loved it.
Really?
Yeah,
okay.
I loved it. It was incredible. It was the most liberating experience of my life. But I couldn't quite understand why there needed to be.
There were 80 guys on the set?
Well, there were 23 guys and
Yeah.
3 women.
Right.
And the 2 women there totally had to body paint my entire body, every inch. So I'd never had attention like that from 2 women.
And I might add, the spread that they had at SI was very artful. It was really like an artistic study of the athletic body. It was a pretty, but it was a controversial piece.
Right. You know what? My father approved. So
there you go.
It was okay.
There you go.
Yeah.
I want to know the level you competed at after your career here at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, but even here at the NCAA championship level, and then in the world circuit for track. There had to be some major head games that the athletes played with each other. Talk to me about what the psychological game was like at that level.
There were so many games going on because at this level you're talking about dollars now.
Yes,
it's not
right.
about it's not about the true competition. You're throwing the element of whoever wins is going to come home with a lot of money, a lot of bonuses from the shoe company. So when money's involved, unfortunately, ethics and morals are out of
compromised.
Yeah. And so what happened, you know, I was competing against a lot of athletes that were unclean, which was very frustrating.
Meaning they were doping?
Yes, which was frustrating. Nothing you can do about it.
Right.
And politics of sports, it's just nothing you can do. And also just running against runners that wanted to win at all costs. I remember I was beating the Olympic champion from '96. She won the 1500 and the half 800, and I was beating her in a race. And I remember in that race, she grabbed me. She grabbed my jersey and literally pulled me and forced me to fall.
Wow.
During the race, everybody clearly saw what happened. There was nobody else around, so you couldn't miss it. And protesting, and nothing happened.
What'd you do to her after the race?
Oh, I give her a big hug and kiss. Yeah, because she was actually a friend of mine.
Oh.
But when you race, it's totally different.
Right.
These aren't your friends anymore.
What's the best race you ever ran?
Oslo, Norway, among my fellow Norwegians, and I ran my fastest time in the world in 2000 that year. Nobody had run faster. So
most difficult race you ever ran?
Most difficult race, I would say, to get over would have been the 2000 Olympics. Just getting over that race because it was so disappointing.
Right.
And it really changed my life. Yeah, I would say that was probably the hardest.
Speaking of changing your life, how did being an athlete at the level you were at, how does that affect you now as a new mom? You have a baby girl. Actually, she's not a baby anymore. She's 2 years old, Kylie. How did being an athlete prepare you for motherhood? Or did it?
Well, I think it can and it can't. I mean, it prepared me for that work ethic and multitasking. Because with a child, you're always go.
Right.
It never stops until 9:30 when she goes to bed, and I'm crashing on the bed next to her until my husband comes and wakes me up and says, you know, you need to sleep in your bed.
Right.
So it really never ends. But I would have to say, it's awesome. You know, coming from competing and being a mother. It's just an awesome experience.
You've gone from a world where it was about you, and now it's about someone else, too, which is an interesting change. We're going to talk some more. We'll be right back with Suzy Favor-Hamilton. We're going to take some questions from our audience here in Madison. Stay with us. So we're back in Madison, Wisconsin with the golden girl of University of Wisconsin Athletics, Suzy Favor-Hamilton, and we've got some questions in the audience. Hi, what's your name and where are you from? Stand up. You got all dressed up for class today, huh?
Yeah. No, my name's Jessie, and I'm from Onalaska, Wisconsin.
Great. What's your question?
I wanted to know your favorite race that you ran in as a fifth grader, how long it was, and what your time was.
Well, great question, Jessie. The race was 400 meters, and again, the reason I loved it so much was because I beat the boys, and I was all about beating the boys. I was all about girls can do things just as good as boys, and we can do them even better. So that's why it was so exhilarating for me.
You've got a question. What's your name?
Bob Brown.
Where are you from, Bob?
Sun Prairie.
Beautiful. What's your question?
Question is, did you participate in any other sporting activities like in grade school or high school, and do you still do anything other than the running?
Well, thanks, Bob. I like that question because I was terrible in every sport. Basketball, just brutal. They had me on the B team because I could run down and get the ball there the fastest, but I could never make the basket. And volleyball, I loved sports, but I just couldn't find what fit for me. I just had no coordination. So I actually got into downhill skiing and running, and it was kind of between the two. My brother was a downhill ski racer, so I kind of was thinking maybe I'll go into ski racing, and then the running just kind of happened and took over my life.
Hi, what's your name? What's your question?
My name is Brendan, and my question is, having competed on a world stage, wondering if you could talk a little bit about what it's like to go to Europe, where track meets are a big deal and people pack stadiums and you can watch events on TV every week.
We're just getting the greatest questions. That's a great question.
Smart people here in
They
Madison,
are
so
really
you know.
smart. Yeah, the students here are amazing. Brendan, when I went to Europe, it was the most incredible experience because I went when I was in high school, and I had a feel for it very early on in life and competed in Romania at one of my first meets ever in my life. So I got to see how lucky I was to be from Wisconsin and have a home and have a family that loved me and see this other side of the world that didn't have so much. And that really changed my life at such a young age and made me compassionate. And I know that has nothing to do with your question, but I just wanted to tell you that. But racing in Europe was amazing. It was exhilarating. It was tough. It was one race after another. It wasn't glamorous. You raced on the weekend. You flew back to your home base, and you trained, and you slept, and you ate, and you did nothing else. And then you would get ready for your next race, and you would repeat this whole cycle for 3 months. And it got very tiring and very draining. But that's where we run to make money and make a living.
Suzy, who are the greatest track fans in the world? Where are they? What country?
Madison, Wisconsin.
No, okay, present company excluded. What country really knows and understands track the best?
You know, I would have to say Switzerland is a great place. They have one of the best meets in Zurich. It's kind of compared to the Olympics every year. Mm-hmm. I would also say Monte Carlo is a great place for track fans, mm-hmm. very educated. The Netherlands, Germany, you name it, Spain mm-hmm. even.
Helsinki?
Yeah.
We've got one more question. Okay. Please stand. What's your name? Where are you from?
I'm Holly Matthews. I'm from Whitewater, Wisconsin.
Okay, what's your question?
And you said that in the 5th grade you realized you had a gift for running. But when was the first time, when did you actually start taking running seriously with your training and working out and such?
I started taking it serious in pretty much the 7th grade is when I really started to make this every day. I'm going to do this every day because I had a summer running club in Stevens Point. That was huge. That was what made me become who I am. If I didn't have that summer program, it would have been easy to get lost in doing things that kids do in the summer that maybe aren't as healthy or get you lost in the wrong direction in life. So that really made a big difference.
We're going to be back with Suzy Favor-Hamilton in just a minute with some more questions. Stay with us on Wisconsin Reflections.
For more information about the show or to be in the audience for future tapings, go to www.wisconsinreflections.wisc.edu.
We're back with the Big Ten Athlete of the Decade in the 90s, Suzy Favor-Hamilton. She was one of the Badger greatest. And we've got another question. What's your name? Where are you from? Stand up.
My name's Nick, and I'm from Minocqua, Wisconsin. I wanted to know what the transition was like going from collegiate athletics to running professionally.
Great question, Nick. Big change. I think the biggest change for me was more the public, because the public was like, why are you getting 5th in these meets? She always won. What's happening? So I started to feel this pressure myself a little bit. Why am I not winning these races? So for me, that was the hardest part, because really my running was pretty much the same. I was starting to improve a little bit more as a professional, but it was just that big jump of everybody trying to figure out why I wasn't winning all the time. And I tried to tell them, well, I was competing against the U.S. and now I'm competing against the world. So there's a lot of good runners out there.
You have a question? Please
Yes.
stand. And you're a Badger track girl, right?
Yes,
Great.
I am.
What's your name?
Hannah Grenacher.
And what's your event?
Long distance, like
Good for you.
5K and 10K.
Good. What's your question?
I was wondering if you could go back in time, what would be one thing that you would change maybe in racing or training that you think that would have benefited you then, that you think you made a mistake?
Great question, Hannah. And Hannah actually came to my running camp. Was that 3 years ago?
Yeah, I think
3 years ago already, yeah. So I've known Hannah for a while, and her aunt used to coach me at Wisconsin, so it's a very small world. If I could go back and change something in high school?
Like high school, college, even like when you are a professional.
Okay.
Maybe you have gained some perspective now.
Absolutely, great question. Because if I could go back, and I swear I think about this all the time, if I could go back today, I would take all that pressure that I was carrying, that huge heavy load that I had been carrying since I was in 7th grade. If I could have just let that go, I think maybe I would be competing still, I don't know. But that pressure was so much for a little girl to carry into high school and to college and a professional career and carry it with me all for that long. That's why I'm so much happier in life now, because I've let that load go and I figured out why I carried that load around for so long. I just wish I could have figured it out earlier, but unfortunately I wasn't ready, and I wasn't ready to get rid of that load until 2 years ago, and it's something you can't just force.
Suzy, it's a courageous and powerful thing that you admit to this kind of torment that you went through, but that also enabled you to be a world-class athlete. Now you're working with young runners. Do you look for and help young runners, especially young women, so that they don't run into some of the issues you had? How do you handle that now?
I do. You know, that's something that's so important. Running is a passion to me. That is my love. And high school, college age, that is the age where you can still really make a difference in somebody's life. Mm-hmm. And I feel like, I can help them. I've been through this. I know what the pressure is like. If I can just affect one person, I feel like I've really made a big change in their life and my own. Because my ultimate dream is to affect people and make some type of difference. And that's why I always thought, I always thought if I won the gold medal, I would have this power to somehow change the world, which was totally ridiculous. It's just a gold medal, and it's just the 1,500 meters. Does the world really care? No. Yeah. But in my mind, that's kind of where my
But your experience is what informs what you're able to teach, not just winning the gold medal.
Absolutely. And life is so precious, and just to live every day to the fullest and be good to people. If that's what I've learned, is how being good to people and being kind to people can put you ahead so far in life. It's amazing. And that's what I preach, and that's who I am.
Well, it was good of you to be with us today in our audience, and it's great to have you back in Madison, Suzy, okay?
Thank you.
Thanks with us, and thanks for being with us, and thanks for being with us out there, folks, and on Wisconsin. See you again next week.
The preceding program was produced by the University of Wisconsin in association with the Big Ten Network.